Treefolk are humanoid tree creatures. They're just like you and me, only different. Do you know why?
Because they're made of wood.
Good. Treefolk have been around since Iron Root Treefolk back in Alpha. Yet, as of this recording, they only make up 116 cards. That's less than a quarter of the number of goblins or elves printed. Over a third of them come in the Lorwyn blocks, leaving only 73 Treefolk spread across every other set in Magic. With well over 100 sets, that leaves an average of less than one Treefolk per set. No wonder they can't find the Entwives. Speaking of which, honorable mention to all the Ents from Lord of the Rings Tales of Middle-earth. They have a representative on the main list, but I'd like to honor them all here. Honorable mention to Doran the Siege Tower, black, green, white, 3 mana for an 0/5 legendary Treefolk Shaman from Lorwyn. Doran says each creature assigns combat damage equal to its toughness rather than its power. Though we've had several Toughness Matters cards since, Doran is the only one to affect all creatures at all times, unless of course you're battling in the Great Forest. Honorable mention to Heartwood's Storyteller, 1 green for a 2/3 Treefolk from Future Sight that says whenever a player casts a non-creature spell, each of that player's opponents may draw a card. You can see how this would get silly in a multiplayer format like Commander. The Storyteller has been my avatar in Magic Online for over a decade, so it holds a special place in my Heartwood. Honorable mention to Namada, Primeval Warden. The original Namada from Planeshift acted as a sort of sapperling spawner and galvanizer. The new Mada is basically the Treefolk version of Kalidas, Trader of Get, which was quite the card in its heyday. One more honorable mention to Indomitable Ancients, or as I like to call them, Lamar Odom and Charles Broad Barkley. 2 white for a vanilla 2/10. Alright, enough honoring, on to the list. Top 5 Treefolk in Magic the Gathering. Number 5. Scurry Oak. 2 and a green for a 1/2 Treefolk from Modern Horizons 2. It has Evolve, which says whenever another creature enters the battlefield under your control, if that creature has greater power or toughness than Scurry Oak, it gets a +1/+1 counter. But the money text is anytime Scurry Oak gets a +1/+1 counter, you create a 1/1 squirrel token. Reasonably powerful in a place like Limited, but where it gets really silly is in tandem with cards like Ivy Lane Denizen, or the Lord of the Rings edition Rosy Cotton of South Lane. Both of these cards have triggered abilities that allow you to make infinite squirrel tokens and put infinite counters on Scurry Oak. Play Scurry Oak, then play either Rosy or the Denizen, and immediately start the loop of triggers. If you want to get fancy, you can have something like a Goblin Bombardment or a Concordant Crossroads to try and win on the spot, but otherwise the squirrels will likely carry you to victory on the following turn. Number 4. Feyburrow Elder. 1 green for a 0/0 Treefolk Druid from Throne of Eldraine. Feyburrow Elder gets +1/+1 for each color among permanents you control. It also taps for a mana of each color among permanents you control. So, say Doran and this Elder are out for a stroll. The Elder would be a 3/3 and tap for 3 mana, a black, a white, and a green. This has huge potential not only to ramp you a ton, but also act as extra fixing for cards with heavy color requirements. Vigilance is a nice bonus too, allowing you to lumber into combat without giving up your mana production. Number 3. Generous Ent. 5 and a green for a 5/7 with Reach from Lord of the Rings. When it enters, make a food token. If the text ended there, it certainly wouldn't be on the list, but luckily for us, there's more. Generous Ent is part of a cycle of cyclers that allow you to pay 1 generic mana to search for a land of the designated type and put it into your hand. These cards can grab dual lands and triomes at instant speed, making them closer to a fetch land than you might think at first. Plus, it turns that land slot into a spell that can be pitched to forces and evoke elementals. Add all the other interactions this ability enables, like a built-in discard outlet for reanimation, or currency to be converted, and it becomes quite cool. Number 2. Woodfall Primus. 5 and triple green for a 6/6 Treefolk Shaman with Trample from Shadowmoor. When it enters, destroy target non-creature permanent. And it has Persist, which says when it dies, if it didn't have a -1/-1 counter on it, return it to the battlefield with a -1/-1 counter on it. This triggers the ETB effect again, allowing you to blow up another permanent and still roll in with the 5/5 Trampler. Woodfall Primus is the second card on this list to combo with Ivy Lane Denizen. My favorite combo with it is Flash. Flash allows you to basically get the ETB and death triggers of creatures at instant speed. Most commonly cards like Atraxa, Worldspine Worm, and number 2 in the list here. The unique thing about Woodfall Primus is it comes back for a second ETB right away and leaves behind a 5/5 Trampler for just 2 mana, once again at instant speed. Blowing up your opponent's first 2 lands and getting a 5/5 on turn 2 is a pretty effective way to start a game of Magic. Primus has been one of my favorite green top-end cards in Vintage Cube for a long time, and I hope that persists. Number 1.
Okay, Mrs. Puff, what's my final score? 6.
2 and a green for a 2/4 with reach from Modern Horizons 3. Whenever 6 attacks, mill 3 cards. Then you may put a land from among them into your hand. As long as it's your turn, non-land permanents in your graveyard have Retrace. Retrace allows you to cast the card from your graveyard by discarding a land as an additional cost. You can see the built-in synergy here. 6 mills permanents, gives them Retrace, and lets you pick out the lands to enable that casting. On top of that, you get a 2/4 Reacher, all for just 3 mana. 6 is a great wall on turn 3, or 2 if the Hierarch is around. Then if the way is clear enough on your turn, it gets in and digs up some value. In Vintage Cube, if you're lucky enough to get this with a Black Lotus, you can cast 6 on turn 1, then turn all the lands in your hand into Lotuses. It's pretty busted. And Lotus is okay too, I guess. That'll do it for the top 5 Treefolk in Magic. Let me know in the comments what cards you think should have made the list, and thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.